Hey, for this week's Rev Up, I want to talk about one of my favorite growth strategies, and that is speaking. Now, before you run away, I'm going to make this really, really approachable, even if you're not a massive fan of speaking, because there are multiple different ways you can go about this. And before you go, there is also a way that this applies to small businesses, if you're by yourself in the business, or really large corporates. I've used this in IBM, and I've used this in Sales Redefined as a small business, both ends of the spectrum. So this applies to everybody in the Rev Up community. So firstly, let's look at speaking. What I'm interested in is, where is your target market hanging out? What communities are they a part of? Is it an industry association? Is it a conference that they go to in an annual event? Is it various thought leaders in the industry? Where is it that they are hanging out? And then how can you be part of that conversation? So let me give you some examples. Firstly, what we've looked at is podcasts. What podcasts are our audience listening to? Can we promote myself as a speaker and go and have that conversation and then get in front of them? Also, we've looked at events. We will sometimes build up a list of all the events that are coming up that we think our industry might be attending and reach out and approach them about a topic that we might talk to. Now, before you're thinking, that's not going to work, sometimes a really accessible way is as part of a panel. So people are always looking for lineups of speakers that can be part of a panel. And we can also start small on this. As an example, we used to have quite a lot of success with people who were part of co-working spaces like WeWork or ServeCorp or Regus. So we reached out to them and said, hey, can we do a lunch and learn for your audience? And we closed over 6 figures worth of business out of that strategy. And so it's really, really, really interesting to start to play to this strength. Now, the starting point is to think of 2 or 3 topics that might be of interest to the audience, and then put together 2 or 3 sentences on these topics, so that when you are reaching out, you can say, hey, this is what we're seeing that our audience are finding interesting right now. This is their challenges. This is what they're talking to. And therefore, we thought we could provide some really interesting education around ABC. And you've got your topic with a really, really high level synopsis. This one is a little bit of a volume game. So we will often reach out to multiple podcasts, multiple event organizers, multiple conferences, multiple industry associations, because if we reach out to say 10, we know that we're probably going to get traction with 1 or 2. Now, the interesting thing about this, before you think, no, they're not going to do it, is most organizers are always looking for, how do I bring fresh new content to keep my members and communities engaged? And so therefore, often when you reach out with a really interesting topic, you can talk to how it's resonating at the target market right now. It's often actually very, very helpful for people, because it shortcuts the process of how do they provide new, fresh, engaging content for their members. So start by creating a list of who you're going to reach out to. Second point is then putting together a couple key points that you can talk to and that you feel comfortable with. And then comes the reach out process. Then what is best to do is to keep a list of what you get back. So people might say, our agenda is completely full. You can go back and say, well, what point of year do you typically engage speakers? And so therefore you then find out, actually, some of these events, people are booking speakers a year in advance. So can we start to get on the agenda next year? The other thing you can do to shortcut this process is use a tool like Upwork that's got freelancers. We've done that many times, and we've got a freelancer really, really cheap for just a few dollars to go and do some of this research for us and shortcut the process. We do the outreach, but they come up with the list and the contact details for us to reach out to. It is a fantastic way. Now, on to the most important part. Once you get your slot and you get your chance to be on the agenda, what we then need to do is obviously make sure we have really fantastic content so that people are engaged, and then finally leave a call to action that pulls people back to you. So what we typically do is we put a QR code up on screen that people can scan, and they can download one of our assets, like our 2023 trends document or various other cheat sheets or assets. If it's a big enough speaking opportunity, we will create an asset specifically for them, and then people can download it, and then they get onto your database. So you have an ability to then continue building that relationship, following up. We'll also then go and connect with all of those people on LinkedIn so that we start to stay front of mind. This has been one of the most effective lead generation strategies that we have ever used. So start to be the speaker, the person of interest, where your target market are hanging out, and then provide them stepping stones back to you, be it a free consult, be it a cheat sheet, a download, and then continue to build that relationship from there. I promise you that whilst this might feel daunting for some people as a strategy, you can start to find ways that are more approachable for you. So for example, if you don't want to stand up and get on stage, start with podcasts and start there as your entry point. If you don't want to get up in a big event, start with really small meetups. How can you be part of a meetup group and just start practicing and playing with that? And then you can build from there.